Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's a place where you're going to find healthy, tasty, awesome little recipes that are easy to make. So if that's your thing, consider subscribing. But today I'm going to show you a keto brownie that there is no sacrificing on gooiness, flavor. It is just a banging 3 p.m. pickup. So let's get into it. The first thing we need to do is get the eggs and the sugar in. So it's basically 3 eggs going straight in to a mixer. You can use a hand mixer if you want, it's just as easy. And then you can use sugar of choice, raw sugar. This is coconut sugar because it's got coconut oil, and then I'm going to use coconut flour as well later. But any like raw sugar you can put in. So 3 tablespoons of that. And then we're just going to bang it on full until it's doubled in volume. Okay, so while my eggs are beating up, I'm just going to preheat the oven to 160, so that's ready for when we need it. Okay, so my eggs have doubled in size, so I'm going to go in with 2 level teaspoons of baking powder. The cocoa powder, it's a 1/4 cup, can go in. Coconut flour, the same of 1/4 cup, and then I've got 2 cups of almond meal, so that can just be poured straight in, and also 1 cup of coconut oil. So I just left this outside to melt, but make sure it's not too hot, because if it's really hot, like if you do it on the stove and then you put it in with the eggs, it's going to cook the eggs. So just make sure it's melted, so as soon as it becomes liquid, it's good to go. So that can go straight in. And then we're just going to give that a mix, and then I've got some coffee. Again, if your coffee is hot, then just make sure that it is running quickly, so when you pour it in, it doesn't cook the eggs. This one I did about 10 minutes ago, so it's not running the risk of doing that to the eggs. So that can go straight in, and then we can just beat that very quickly. And then once that's combined, that's it. So we can just take this off. Make sure we get that mix off the whisk, not to waste any. And then I've got some chocolate drops. So there's about a handful, but you can go as light or as heavy as you want on those. But they do give it a nice little bit of moisture, because you get those droplets of just melted chocolate when it's still warm, and it is nice. So just fold those in, and then that mix is ready to go into the mold. So for the mold, I've just got my baking tray. I'm just going to line it on another tray, so it just makes it easier to get in and out of the oven instead of trying to grab this with a cloth, so when it's hot. So all I'm doing with that to grease it is I pour in some coconut oil, and then we just run it around the edge, so to make sure it's nicely greased, and then you can just pour that back into the jar, so you can use that again. Just make sure it runs off quite well, so you're not going to have it too oily afterwards, so because that oil will not get into the mix, and it will just make the base of it, when you come to eat it, really greasy. And that's it. So we can just put this straight into the mold, and then it's ready to go in the oven. And then just knock it down into the corners so it's an even layer, and that is ready to go in the oven. So that's it. Just knock all these bits. If you've got any bits on the corner, just clean those off, and then we can put that into the oven. So that's gone into the oven, and it's normally taking around 23 minutes. So what we want to do is cook it until it's just undercooked in the middle, so then when we take it out, it's still going to continue cooking, so that way we're just going to get a really nice gooey brownie. So there's nothing worse than a dry brownie, and this recipe is just a banger when you get it right. So 23 minutes, and then we're going to see how it is. Okay, so that has been in now for 23 minutes and it's smelling awesome. It's got a little bit of give, but I've got my high-tech skewer here to check how it is. Can go in and it's coming out pretty much dry. There's a little bit of moisture, so when that cools, that will then firm up and it will just like cook through. So I'm just going to leave it here for like 4 to 5 minutes just to make sure that it comes away, like when I turn it out it doesn't get stuck. So by leaving it, it's just going to firm up a little bit, and then also there's going to be some steam, so it will just loosen up those edges, and then we can just go straight onto a wire rack until it's come down to being slightly warm, and then when it's slightly warm you just get much nicer slices. But if you can't wait for that and you just want to tuck into it, then bang some vanilla ice cream on there or whatever you want, and it is awesome. Obviously that blows it out being a keto, but. So the brownie now has had about 4 or 5 minutes just sitting here, so it's warm enough to, or cool enough to handle. So I'm just gonna stick the cooling rack on top, flip it over, and then we can just leave that here to cool down. So when it's a bit cooler, then we can just slice it into portions. Normally this one I'm getting about 8, so 8 nice ones, you know, so you could hit your 10 to 12, but being generous, 8 portions, pretty tasty. So just give it a few minutes and then we can slice it, see how it is, and then just get into it. So, all right, I think this is cool enough to handle, so I'm just gonna get under it, flip it over, and then straight onto the board. It's still a bit warm and it is broken. That's just being impatient. So we can just cut it where it broke. And let's just go into 9. So twist it. And that is it. So you can just see it steaming, and there we have it. You can see you can actually hear the moisture in there. So it's really soft. If you leave it cool so it's not steaming like that, it will be better. But just to show you how moist it is, it's a cracking little recipe. So if you like recipes like this, then hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.